Welcome back to the deep dive. We're so glad you're sitting down with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've got a really incredible stack of sources to go through.
We really do. And, have you ever stepped back and just wondered what actually separates a good leader or a good organization from an absolute unstoppable dynasty?
Right, like is it just having access to better raw talent? Or is it a bulletproof system?
Exactly. Or is it something a little more intangible, something behind the scenes? Because today we're answering that question for you. We have a massive stack of sources in front of us.
A literal masterclass in dynasty building.
I mean, we've got deep dive game analyses, program breakdowns, coaching profiles, raw stat sheets, and together they show us how adaptability and operating under high stakes pressure actually works.
The kind of pressure that breaks most people.
Oh, absolutely. We are taking you on a wild ride today. We've got a coach desperately clinging to his playoff hopes, another one chasing a historic four-peat, an epic clash of coaching styles, and a true freshman who flipped an entire season's script in 30 seconds flat.
What makes these sources so valuable today is that they don't just hand us the final scores and move on. They give us the total anatomy of these programs.
Yeah, the behind-the-scenes reality.
Right. They show us how these leaders think, how they react when their backs are firmly against the wall, and how the architecture of a college football dynasty is either reinforced or dismantled in real time.
It's fascinating.
For anyone out there who has to manage a team or navigate a highly competitive environment, the case studies we are looking at today are incredibly revealing.
So let's jump right into the deep end. We have to start with the explosive 55-32 Ohio State victory over Indiana.
A perfect illustration of that gap between a merely good program and a truly dynastic one.
Exactly. You have two totally contrasting coaching philosophies colliding here.
Yeah.
On one side, you have Coach Parlay at Ohio State. His philosophy is just ruthless explosiveness.
Complete offensive firepower.
Right. And on the other side, you have Coach Bone at Indiana, who leans heavily on structure, volume, and controlling the clock. And reading through these postgame reports, Ohio State's offensive machine was just terrifying.
The numbers are staggering.
Their quarterback, Barry Maffey, put up video game numbers. We are talking 455 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, a 69% completion rate, and wait for this, an eye-popping 25.3 yards per completion.
Let that metric sink in for a second.
I mean, 25.3 yards. That means every single time the guy completed a pass, they were moving a quarter of the entire field.
Plus, he's a dual threat. He added 13 rushing yards and another touchdown on the ground.
Just a completely unfair skill set.
What's fascinating here is Maffey's demeanor throughout all of this calculated chaos. The sources emphasize time and time again that he plays with the calm of a champion.
He never looks rushed.
Never. He isn't rattled by pressure. He dictates the pace of the game rather than rushing his progressions. He stepped onto the field looking entirely comfortable putting the whole offense on his shoulders.
But we need to look at that 25.3 yards per completion again, because that isn't just about throwing the ball hard.
No, not at all. That number points to a systemic breakdown of the opponent's defense. It means Ohio State's receivers are acting as relentless vertical stresses.
Like Dwayne Darnold, who had 5 catches for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And Shoemaker, who had 4 catches for 152 yards and 2 scores. They are constantly threatening to run right past the defense.
Yeah, I want to pause on that strategy for a second, because the sources mention Ohio State utilizing things like deep crossers to open up their running game with Forrest Bajan.
What?
For someone who doesn't spend their weekends diagramming football plays, how does running your receivers deep actually help your running back?
It is a brilliant strategic double bind. A deep crosser is when a receiver runs horizontally deep down the field, crossing from one side to the other.
Okay.
It forces the defensive backs to panic and backpedal to protect that deep third of the field so they don't get beat for a quick touchdown. The second the defense backs off to respect that deep threat, Ohio State punishes them by handing the ball off to Bajan.
And he's a downhill running back.
Exactly. He isn't dancing around looking for an angle. He is running north to south, straight to the line of scrimmage with physical force. By the time the defense realizes it's a run, they are already too far back to stop him.
And Coach Parlay is absolutely hunting for his 4th straight national title. He has built a machine that averages over 50 points a game and 15-plus yards per attempt overall because he forces defenses into these lose-lose situations.
Which brings us to the other side of the coin. Indiana's reality check.
Yeah, Coach Bone's squad is now sitting at 3-3, and they are 0-2 in major showcases. But wait, looking at the stat sheet, their quarterback, Vernon Gaskin, actually had a highly efficient game.
He really did.
He threw for 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and completed 80% of his passes. He had Tyree Byam catching a 98-yard bomb and Brandon Johnston pulling in 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. If your quarterback is completing 80% of his passes, how in the world do you lose by 23 points?
Because the margin for error for Indiana is practically zero.
They are on playoff life support right now.
They are. And the fatal flaw in Coach Bone's system against heavyweights like Ohio State is that it relies almost entirely on long drives, high-efficiency passing, and grinding out the clock.
You have to be perfect for 12 straight plays.
Right. When you lack elite, consistent, explosive traits across your entire roster, and more importantly, when you lack a defining defensive identity, you simply cannot trade haymakers with a heavyweight.
You might land one good punch, like that 98-yard bomb to Byam.
But you are going to get knocked out in the later rounds because you can't sustain that level of damage.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because speaking of sustaining a high level of performance, we have to talk about the pressure cooker going on over at Arkansas.
A completely different kind of pressure.
Coach AD inherited Coach Parlay's old machine at Arkansas. Now, inheriting a championship team sounds like the ultimate dream gig on paper, right? You walk in, the talent is there, the trophies are in the case.
But the sources paint a picture of completely suffocating expectations.
It is literally title or bust. Arkansas is genuine favorites to win their 3rd straight national championship, which would be Coach AD's first.
Inheriting a dynasty is arguably much harder than building one from scratch.
Really? Why is that?
When you build it, you get a honeymoon period. You get time to make mistakes. When you inherit a back-to-back title winner, any deviation from perfection is viewed as a systemic failure.
Wow, that's a great point.
But Coach AD has proven that Arkansas is still an absolute monster. And what stands out in the program breakdowns is that it's not just the system carrying them, it's the flawless execution.
Their quarterback, Ray Bellotta, is just so efficient and totally unflappable.
He operates behind a remarkably deep wide receiver room. Guys like Pettigrew, Stubbs, and Pitts.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
It is. And they all win their individual matchups in totally different ways.
And what I found so compelling about Coach AD's approach is his restraint. A lot of new leaders want to come in and immediately put their stamp on things, rip up the floorboards. But AD didn't try to reinvent the wheel.
He kept their fast tempo and their relentless pressure.
He just refined it, smoothed out the edges.
That takes a massive amount of ego control. He recognized what made the machine work and simply optimized it. Compare that smooth humming machine to the situation Coach Bryce is facing at South Carolina right now.
Oh, man. South Carolina.
Earlier in the season, South Carolina had this incredibly emotional 35-34 walk-off win over Coach Nate and Vanderbilt.
And the narrative was that South Carolina had finally arrived.
But reading the deep dive analysis on South Carolina since that game, the narrative was completely wrong.
But let me push back for a second. A win is a win, right? Doesn't a gritty, emotional walk-off victory build the kind of culture a team needs to eventually become a dynasty?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that walk-off win was actually deceptive. It was fool's gold.
Because since that emotional high, Coach Bryce's team has been routinely blown off the field.
Emotional grit is fantastic, but it is not a sustainable system. The roster clearly lacks the elite speed and physicality required to hang with the top tier.
And their defense just seems to collapse the moment they face a punch in the mouth.
Exactly. They lack a true identity. In a landscape dominated by dynasties with clear, repeatable identities, lacking a calling card leaves you stuck in neutral.
Which makes this upcoming matchup against Arkansas a brutal measuring stick for Bryce. It's a classic case of one team chasing history and the other just desperately chasing stability.
Arkansas wants to remind everyone that the road to the title still goes through Fayetteville.
While South Carolina is just trying to prove they belong on the same field.
This raises an important question. When you are managing your own team, do you have a calling card? When your brilliant plan A goes out the window, what is the foundational identity you fall back on?
Right. Ohio State falls back on their ruthless explosiveness. Arkansas falls back on their relentless tempo. South Carolina doesn't have an answer to that question yet.
And that is precisely why they are struggling.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because speaking of establishing a clear identity, our sources highlight the ultimate coaching chess match, the creativity war.
Coach Jacoby at Stanford versus Coach Ben at North Carolina.
Coach Jacoby is on a massive heater right now. He has already taken out Coach Bone from Indiana and Coach Jalen from LSU.
He proved he could beat a structure-obsessed coach and an explosive talent coach.
But now, He has to face Coach Ben, who runs UNC like the absolute discipline standard of college football.
The contrast in how these two rosters are built is brilliant. Jacoby relies heavily on creating absolute, unscripted chaos,
Using a dual-threat freshman quarterback named Anthony Higgins.
who has been shredding defenses not just with design plays, but with his improvisation. He pairs him with Tavita Yu, who is arguably one of the most complete running backs in the sport.
A mismatch waiting to happen.
Stanford is a team built to thrive in unpredictability.
But then you look across the sideline at Coach Ben's UNC, and it's like looking at a perfectly calibrated machine. It's all about discipline. Their quarterback, John Treadwell, is pure precision.
We are talking 2,051 passing yards and 25 touchdowns in just 5 games.
He is a surgeon, and he is handing the ball off to Shakir Peacock, who already has 539 rushing yards, averaging an absurd 9.8 yards per carry.
It is a phenomenal clash of styles, the innovator versus the traditionalist. But what the source material stresses heavily is that this game will be a true three-phase war.
Right. For those who might not know, football is divided into offense, defense, and special teams.
People fixate on the offense and defense, but this game will likely be decided by the hidden points found in special teams.
Stanford's return man, Gerald Hawk, already has 2 kick return touchdowns this season.
Taking a kickoff all the way back completely bypasses the opposing defense.
But UNC counters with Von Stubbs, who has 619 return yards himself, and an elite returner in Joel Winoco.
In a game where the offensive and defensive schemes might cancel each other out, a momentum-swinging kick return will absolutely be the difference.
The stakes couldn't be higher. If Jacoby wins, he enters that elite tier. But if Ben wins, he proves UNC is still the ultimate gatekeeper.
That rigorous standards will always triumph over a hot streak.
Now, you just mentioned stealing a game on special teams, and that perfectly sets up the most cinematic story in our entire stack of sources today. It's the Texas-sized escape.
Texas and Coach Leto going up against LSU and Coach Jalen.
A game that had absolutely everything. Leto and his Texas squad come out firing on all cylinders. They go up 21-0 in the first half.
LSU looked completely dead in the water.
Totally overwhelmed by the Texas pass rush. It had all the makings of a humiliating blowout.
But you can never count out a tactician like Coach Jalen. The halftime adjustments he made for LSU should be studied in leadership seminars.
He didn't just tweak a few plays, he completely shifted the paradigm.
LSU comes out in the second half and rips off 28 unanswered points. They completely stalled the Texas offense.
They claw all the way back, and with just 30 seconds left in the game, LSU takes a 35-28 lead.
Think about the psychology on that Texas sideline. You were up by 21 points, and now your entire season is slipping through your fingers.
And this is where the story gets legendary. Texas is about to receive the kickoff. Coach Leto looks down his bench and decides to put a true freshman wide receiver, Barry Corbin, onto the kick return team.
Now, why did he do this? Was Corbin some secret weapon?
No. He put him in simply because the kid had, quote, fresh legs. He wasn't even in the rotation.
A moment of pure desperation mixed with gut instinct.
The starters are exhausted, so you throw in the kid who hasn't been battered for 3 hours, and what happens?
Total unscripted chaos. Corbin fields the kick and houses it for 98 yards.
A true freshman saves the season. He provides a program-altering moment with 30 seconds left on the clock.
It completely erased what was an absolute masterclass of a comeback by LSU.
So what does this all mean? Because the madness didn't stop there. Texas is down 35-34. Coach Leto can send his kicker out, take the extra point, and go to overtime.
Or he can leave his exhausted offense on the field, go for a 2-point conversion, and try to win the game right there.
The ultimate test of leadership philosophy.
He goes for 2. He goes for the win, and they convert it. Texas wins 36-35.
That decision is a stunning display of conviction, bypassing the safe route to risk everything on one play.
He is telling his players, I believe in your ability to execute right now more than I fear the consequences of losing.
That is why players will run through a brick wall for a coach like Leto. But looking at the big picture, Leto survives but has massive second-half offensive issues he needs to fix.
And Coach Jalen proved his tactical genius, but he is going to be haunted by a single special teams breakdown for the rest of his career.
It really puts into perspective how razor-thin the margin between monumental success and devastating failure truly is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we really want to connect these dots back to you.
Whether you are managing a massive corporate project or a small creative team, there are profound lessons here.
Sometimes success requires the rigid structural discipline and precision of Coach Ben at UNC.
Sometimes it requires the fearless conviction of Coach Leto.
And sometimes you just need to be able to dictate your own reality, operating with the ruthless, calm efficiency of Barry Maffei and the Ohio State offense.
It ultimately comes down to knowing your identity and having the awareness to adapt.
You can build the most perfect machine in the world, but if you don't have the conviction to make a bold call, that machine will break down under pressure.
Very true.
Which leaves us with one final lingering thought for you to mull over today. We spend all this time analyzing coaching systems, structural efficiencies, and tactical masterclasses.
The analytics, the discipline.
Right. But when an entire season and a massive playoff picture is completely saved by a backup true freshman returning a kick 98 yards simply because he had fresh legs, you really have to ask yourself,
Yeah.
in the relentless pursuit of building a perfect, predictable machine, how much of your ultimate success is actually decided by total, unscripted chaos?
It's a truly humbling thought for anyone trying to build a dynasty.
It really is. Thank you so much for sitting down with us for this deep dive. We love unpacking these incredible stories with you, and we can't wait to dive into the next stack of sources soon. Keep learning, keep adapting, and we will see you next time.